have takes. Welcome to Football Takes.
Football! Yeah! Football!
Oh, we've got takes. We got football takes for days. And of course, this is it's ordinarily the Wednesday edition of Football Takes, but AJ and I are off tomorrow, so it's the Tuesday edition. It is Judd. It is Thor Nystrom, who, of course, Thor on Purple Daily. Thor has joined our team. We're thrilled about it. And he is churning out great content, including probably right now, or I should say not probably, the best draft content in town. This man knows the draft backwards and forwards. And so Score North has been improved through that. And, of course, producing and guiding the ship, AJ Fredrickson, who does a great job. And the North Star throwback hat is just another way to win my affection for a guy I already love. So, Football Takes is exactly what it sounds like. It's not no fluff. We are running the football. We are pounding the rock with our football takes. So Thor, you start us off. What is your first take on this Tuesday?
I would love to kick us off with an NFL draft take on this Tuesday.
As promised.
And my take is we're about to have a ridiculous infusion of wide receiver talent into the NFL over the next 2 years. We already knew that a historical wide receiver class was coming in 2027. This 2026 class in April, the wide receiver class over the summer looked a little bit underwhelming. It is the one position group in this coming class, the 2026 class, wide receivers, where it has kept building and building and building. And that position group has looked stronger and stronger and stronger as we go, where over the summer, it looked like one of the weaker potential position groups in the 2026 class. It now looks like one of the strongest ones, in particular with the depth. You have in 2026 really, really good wide receiver depth in the class. And then 2027, that's when you have your big T-Rex guys at the top, the monster prospects, which I'll get to in a second. But just starting with the 2026 wide receiver class, guys that I think you absolutely view as first-round picks. Jordan Tyson will be consensus there, the Arizona State receiver. Denzel Boston, I think, will be seen as a consensus round one guy. Certainly Mekhi Lemon from USC. He's getting some Amon-Ra St. Brown comps right now. Dynamic slot guy that can win at all three levels of the field. You have efficiency and some explosion there too. Carnell Tate from Ohio State, another ascending prospect. He gets his national coming out party this year, moving up to wide receiver 2 in that offense with Emeka Egbuka, of course, off to the NFL. Then there's other guys that are being tossed there with potential first-round picks, or if not, are going to be top 50 types. Chris Brazell, Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M, Zachariah Branch from Georgia, former USC wide receiver who gets some Zay Flowers comps. And we could go on and on here. The class, Chris Bell from Louisville has a knee injury. Well, we'll end up seeing if we get him in the class, but he's a really strong receiver as well. The FCS level and the G5 are going to provide us some good receivers. Bryce Lance, the brother of Trey Lance and Bryce saw it out at North Dakota State like his brother did. Bryce Lance, very strong receiver prospect, likely going on day 2. Skylar Bell from UConn is another day 2 prospect. You have attractive wide receivers into the middle rounds in this coming class. So again, the depth is going to be there. Then you move into 2027, this receiver class we've been talking about for multiple years. That's the one where at the top, Jeremiah Smith, who is would be a top 3 prospect in almost any draft class. Cam Coleman from Auburn, it would be a top 10 pick in dang near any draft class. Ryan Williams from Alabama. Next year, his stock came down a little bit this year because they played him in the slot predominantly. He's been nicked up, but that guy is a top 10 prospect as well. And I think next year you're going to see his usage diversify again when he's fully healthy. And Texas A&M's Mario Craver as well is another one of those electric movement type guys. And even beyond that, day 2 in 2027 is going to be really strong too. So for fantasy folks out there that love your wide receivers, the next 2 draft classes are for you. The 2026 one, maybe it wasn't hyped up adequately in the summer, but going to be a really good wide receiver class there, and then setting the stage for what could be a historic wide receiver class in 2027.
2 questions off of this then. One is, should the Vikings draft a wide receiver in this draft? And if so, what round should they earmark? And should they take at least one wide receiver in each of the next 2 drafts?
This to the second one, yes. To the first one, I think the 2026 class for the Vikings, it would be late day 2, early day 3,
Okay.
just with the other needs there in mind as well. Depending on what you do, of course, if you trade Addison, might want to bump that up a little bit.
Sure.
But that's where I would earmark for this coming class. The next one, presumably, you would want to take one higher. The class, the strength of it, but also the impending decision with Jordan Addison after his 4th season. If you have kept him through this offseason, through the 2026 season, that's where you have the big decision, the 5th-year option. We see a lot of wide receivers traded between their 4th and 5th year in the NFL, so that would be something to think about there. But yeah, with teams thinking about their wide receiver rooms, and this goes around the NFL, you have to think about that 2027 class off in a distance, and you have this one coming up here 2026 where you can get a contributor in the middle rounds, but that 2027 one is your ability potentially to add a star. I mean, 4 or 5 different game-changing type receivers at the top of that 2027 class. So lots to think about when you're sort of future planning in an NFL front office.
Interesting.
One of the guys you mentioned was Mekhi Lemon with USC, but I'm just looking at Tankathon here, looking at kind of like their wide receiver big board. I know it's a little bit lower. They got his counterpart at USC, Jacoby Lane. For those two guys, how have they maybe stolen some equity off each other? Like, is one of those maybe benefiting off the other one's attention, or are they both just really good prospects altogether?
I think you could make an argument that Jacoby Lane on another team, that you're not as overshadowed there. Jacoby Lane, he announced this past week that he was going to declare for the draft. We were actually surprised. We thought Jacoby Lane was going to be another addition to the amazing 2027 class. And this is where you get into 3-dimensional chess. We talked about this with some running back decisions in the last class we had, 2025 NFL draft, where that running back class was so stacked. And some running backs, maybe you go back to school as opposed to jump into that one. With receivers, that decision's inverted, right? Like, it's like, should I jump into the 2026 class where it's not quite as stacked, particularly at the top as the 2027 one? It appears that that's a decision that Jacoby Lane made, where there's 3-4 guys in the 2027 group that I do not think I can get past. So why would I go back to school? Even if I can be the undisputed wide receiver 1 with Jaden Maeva next year at USC with Mekhi Lemon moving on. But they're 2 different wide receivers. Mekhi Lemon, you have the usage, move him inside, outside. USC certainly did that. In the NFL, probably more of a slot, but you have the Amon-Ra St. Brown thing there, where Amon-Ra played a lot of slot at USC. And of course, in the NFL, we have seen him on the perimeter plenty, and he can sort of be moved in between. Maybe Lemon will be more slanted towards the traditional slot. Jalen Lane, no such question. That guy is a traditional boundary receiver, 6'4", 190, 195. And it's a guy that can get downfield, big catch radius on him. So that's more your looking at the NFL. Is Jalen, is he a really good wide receiver too? Kind of a thing. Is he a possession kind of guy in the NFL? I'm not sure that he's a wide receiver 1. That's the thing where he could have gone back to school, tried to make that argument. But again, you can't begrudge the guy for trying to jump into the 2026 class where it's not as good at the top.
How stacked, skill position wise, is the 27 draft going to be? Because you've talked about the quarterback class of 27.
The 2027 class with offensive firepower, it's stacked beyond belief. The quarterbacks, this class, the 2026 one, there's a possibility that this is a really bad quarterback class.
You've said that. Yeah.
Yeah, we know we're going to have Mendoza at the top, but if Dante Moore goes back and Sellers, we already know is going back. Those guys going into the 2027 class, in addition with Julian Sayin, Arch Manning, as expected, last couple of days announced he was going back to Texas. The 2027 quarterback class, that's the one that's going to be crazy stacked. That's where we could see 5 quarterbacks going in the first round again, and a lot of competition jockeying up there. I think we'll have some day 2 quarterbacks in that class as well. Some class we don't have the day 2. You know, you have the long wait, like the Rattler class, when he wasn't one of those first round quarterbacks, and he ends up going in day 3 there. Yep. But yeah, you really stacked quarterback class, and then the receiver class as well. Just so much talent there. So yeah, 2027 class, the one the NFL been talking about for a while. Media, we've been talking about that one for a while. 2026 class, not as talented overall, but the wide receiver class is an exception, and especially the depth of it. So this is a class where I think I would be earmarking and trying to hit the receiver position, maybe in the middle rounds. For you're an NFL team, add a guy to the room. Maybe you get him on a sticker price discount from where that guy would have been class or 2 before.
AJ, you're next. What is your statement?
My football take, and this is, I'll stay in division here in the NFC North, but right now, of all the teams that are currently slated to make the playoffs, the one that is sitting on the outside looking in with the Detroit Lions, I think is most likely the team that not only will make the playoffs, they still have a chance to win the division, but I think out of the NFC North, they will be the team that is able to have the easiest path to make the NFC Championship game. And I'll tell you here's why. The Chicago Bears currently sit at 10-4. Their remaining schedule is not is not the easiest of things. So right now, the Bears here, if I pull that back up, they face the Packers at home, and I think this is like the most important game so far of the year for the Bears. Now without Micah Parsons, Christian Watson has some stuff going on. Bears at home, I bet you they win that. But then they face the final 2 weeks of the season on the road against San Fran, at home against Detroit. Detroit, they need to win out and control their own destiny in order to make the playoffs. And then potentially that week 18 game is going to be for the division if some things shift their way, with the Bears potentially losing to right now a playoff team in San Fran in week 17. The Lions, they have, I'm not going to say a walk in the park, but they stay in Detroit this weekend against the Steelers. And the Steelers, I think I don't know about you guys, like they're a good football team in this whole span of the league. I don't know if they're on the same caliber as Detroit, despite them only having 8 wins this year. Then they're going to come to Minneapolis next week, week 17. There's no shot that Dan Campbell and that squad is going to let the Vikings take 2 off them this year. They got embarrassed by 9 at home earlier this season. I think it's going to be a developmental day for the Vikings, but it's like, oh, well, JG might look good, whatever. It'll be a learning day, but the Lions probably do their thing. And then they travel to Chicago in week 18. If they were to take the division, they're going to probably match up with how things would shift out, either a Seahawks team or a San Fran team in probably a 2-7 matchup or a 3-6 matchup. I think that is going to be an easy win for them. And then it's a matter of how things move after that. Because if for some reason, maybe the Eagles were to get upset if they make the 2 seed, maybe they catch a Rams team who gets a little too complacent. Who knows with Devontae Adams? I know he felt it very hockey-like description of his hamstring injury, feeling it. It's a lower body. We don't exactly know. How is that going to affect how their offense flows? We know we saw Parkinson step up in a big way, but at the same time, Puka Nacua is the guy that they have to shut down. I think the way that Detroit plays the game, they're able to maybe pave a better path there. And if they get on the opposite side of the bracket, I mean, you're probably going to get either a Seahawks or Tampa Bay squad that I think the Detroit Lions are able to probably take to the cleaners 9 times out of 10. So that for me is the football take of they're not there now, but by week 18, they will be in the playoffs and have probably the easiest route to get to the NFC Championship game. That is the Detroit Lions.
How much did Phil pay you to do that take in the preseason?
Ball
Judd
knower,
and Declan.
ball knower, 2 ball knowers on this show. Are you a ball knower, AJ?
The playoffs. Yeah, and Phil was in on him, so Phil's gonna love to hear that. I think with the Lions, it's can they make the dance? Right, right now you're at 36% on ESPN's odds, and 4% with the Super Bowl. But I think if the Detroit Lions made the dance, we would like their ability to pull out some upsets more than some of these, certainly than Chicago, right? And you're thinking about some of these other NFC contenders. I think they're rooting for Chicago to seal up that spot over Detroit.
I agree with that. Yeah, but I like your point too, because I feel like some of these teams that have had really good seasons, like the Bears too, what happens in the playoffs when the pressure goes up? Yeah. Like Ben Johnson's done a great job. Don't get me wrong. I'll talk about him in a second. But Detroit's been there,
yeah,
and had that experience. And Jared Goff's been there. Caleb has not been there. So and Green Bay. That's a good defense. They're well run. I get all of that. But the Micah Parsons loss cannot be overstated. I mean, Micah Parsons is a guy who is literally the Swiss Army knife of pass rushing. He was coming from everywhere. Teams couldn't judge it. I think we'll see, and I'm not saying that they're going to lose to the Vikings here in the final game of the regular season, but I'll be really interested to see what Green Bay does against the Vikings because, in the game at Lambeau with McCarthy playing, if you guys recall, Micah Parsons was on one play, he would line up behind the DT. On the next play, he would be a defensive tackle. On the next play, he would be on the edge. And just gauging where he was going to be and then addressing a guy who's that talented. So I do feel like I would not be shocked if Green Bay made the playoffs and went one and done. I wouldn't be absolutely shocked.
Yeah, and to your point about the Chicago Bears having a good season, it feels like as a franchise they are really turning the corner.
Agreed.
But I just the intangibles, the it factors of they've been there before. I just don't know, and you're going to see maybe the pressure of the playoffs creep into the end of the regular season where they have this opportunity to lock up the division and really set themselves for like an easier path in the playoffs. But is that going to creep in? Are they going to start overthinking things? Are they going to try to get cute and maybe all of a sudden you drop a game? Oh no, but you know what? We have 2 more games to do. Another playoff team. This is a measure test. And now the national media has this narrative that we can't do it. And we peak maybe too soon. I'm just curious to watch them either take off more or maybe to start a big decline heading into the final few weeks.
The Bears remind me of the Vikings from last year, where you're playing the lesser schedule and you get into a bunch of series of close games and you find yourself on the right side of a coin flip in a bunch of them. And the Bears' point differential this season has been talked about plenty, so I won't get too deep into that. But the Vikings, it turned out you get into the playoffs, you get into your last regular season game last year, maybe they weren't quite as good as that record indicated, and that could be pointed at towards their results in one possession games. I think the same would be true of Chicago. We'll see if they can end up edging out Detroit for that final wild card spot. But yeah, Detroit, again, I think that's a team people would be scared to play in the playoffs, whereas Chicago does have a bit of, forgive the expression, but a bit of paper tiger feel to them this year.
Oh, Judd, you muted.
My bad. In a lot of ways, the Bears are a combination of the 2024 Vikings and the 2022 Vikings. That first team with O'Connell that won, Kirk, and he did a great job, but they won a ton of tight games. They get to the playoffs and it's like, oh, whoops. And so, yeah, I agree. I'm with Age. I think Chicago is on the right track, but that being said, I am not going to be convinced that they are going to make a playoff run until I see them win at least a game. My take is this. Mike Vrabel, Liam Cohn, Sean Payton, and Ben Johnson, you've all done great jobs. And you will all be mentioned, and one of you might win the NFL Coach of the Year after Kevin O'Connell won it last year. But let me tell you right now, guys, you're not it. You're not the choice. Let's get the choice right. Let's not just say, well, he's a new coach or his team overachieved. My Coach of the Year, and he's going to make the playoffs, I think, and it's a Houdini. It's Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. Now his team is 10-4, but look at who they've lost. Look at who they've plugged in. Mac Jones was a great story, but he wasn't a great story until he got where? San Francisco with Shanahan, who, by the way, deserves a lot of credit. He didn't play for him, but for Sam Darnold, okay? Mm-hmm. But you look at who San Francisco has played without, and I'm talking on both sides of the football. And I'm talking a season in which it would have been easy to crumble. Like San Francisco's had a season. They're 10-4. They've had a season that screams they should probably have 7 wins right now, tops. I think Kyle Shanahan, if you really examine it, and yes, Vrabel with the Patriots, phenomenal. He got that job. He's done great. Liam Cohn with Jacksonville, really good job. They're in first place. Sean Payton, Denver, they might be the top seed. Awesome job. Ben Johnson, we've talked about the Bears. But what Kyle Shanahan has done with injuries and workarounds and his quarterback out, his highly paid quarterback, I think if you really examine this and didn't just go with because it's always like the bright, shiny toy coach, right? The new coach or O'Connell didn't get it in 22 and then he won, 14 games last year. And so he got it. I think Kyle Shanahan, assuming that San Fran makes the playoffs, and I think they will, has done a magnificent job. And he is my pick, Thor, for Coach of the Year.
He sure has done a great job. Yeah, and in this sort of paradigm we're in with the NFC this year where it does feel a little bit wide open. The Rams right now is the team you point to maybe as the front runner, but the Rams certainly no Colossus this year. That thing is there for the taking. the NFC's entrant into the Super Bowl, and we're gonna potentially have a new look there on the AFC side with so many longtime contenders sort of down for the count now and are not going to be in the playoffs. So we're gonna get a little bit of a new feel to the Super Bowl. And can Kyle Shanahan turn back the clock and go back 5 years or whatever that was, and steal the NFC's entrant into that? They're probably not being talked about enough right now, Judd, to your point.
I mean, he's done a great job. All right, final one goes to Thor. What is your last football take?
Mine is, we talked about a 2026 draft, the NFL draft, the constitution of that, and the 2027 one a little bit. My last take, this is more of a PSA to NFL front offices, and that is when you find your opportunities this offseason, trade and certainly during the draft in late April, trade 2026 NFL draft picks, cash them in for 2027 NFL draft picks. And the other thing, be mindful of the comp pick game this offseason, right? Keep in mind with the free agents out and in, the qualifying ones, and then how that goes into the comp pick formula, how those are rewarded. For the offseason where the guys are signing, that's not for the NFL draft a month or two later, right? That is for the following one. So this offseason, the free agents and the qualifying and all the stuff that goes in with the comp picks, that is all for the 2027 class, which is going to be amazing. And in that one, I want as much ammunition to potentially move around the board 2027 as I possibly can because of all the amazing prospects projected to be top half of the first round and through the first round in that class. I want all the maneuverability possible. So a PSA to front offices out there, and this has already begun. The Jets, our boy Rick Spielman, our old friend, he was wheeling and dealing around the trade deadline. The Jets were clearly prioritizing, we want 2027 picks, right? Very, very smart. You got to tip your cap to Rick Spielman on that. He's leading the dance on this. I think several other NFL front offices will end up following him. And it's interesting because in usual drafts, you have like the sort of Kelly Blue Book thing in your head of what would a fourth round pick in this class be worth in next year equity? Usually you get it's the one better, right? So I'll trade you a fourth round pick and I get your third rounder next year. I wonder if the math on this changes at all. I wonder if the Kelly Blue Book, when we are on the clock in late April, the last Thursday, Friday nights of April, and then the last Saturday of April, will the prices change at all? Is it going to be more 1-to-1? Okay, you want the fourth round this year? It's going to be a fourth rounder next year, as opposed to the overage because of the perception difference in quality of the classes. I'll be very interested to keep an eye on that. But I know that front office is already thinking about that 2027 class. You will see this play out in some transactions that you see this offseason and certainly during the draft. So something to keep an eye on.
Let me ask you this, your conversion rate based on just your knowledge of how the drafts go head to head. If I were to give you a 2026 first round pick and a 2027 first round pick on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being this is one of the worst talent draft classes we ever seen, 10 is everybody is like a superstar. Where do you value 2026 on that scale, 2027 on that scale?
Overall class quality?
Yes.
I would go this one, 2026 out of 10, I would say I give it like a 4, probably 3.8.
So below average.
Below average, yeah.
Okay.
If it was bell curve, I'd probably have this class as a D+ in April. The 2027, that one's getting an A right now, right? And we'll see when we get there. But there's some nuance in this, right? The reason that we all love the 2027 one so much is because we know that there are the blue chip. There's a chest full of them, of gold prospects, the blue chip guys, where there's a sort of a dearth of them in this 2026 class. You look at the projected first round guys in 2026, it's one of those classes where it's like, really? Those are the best 32 guys in this class? I will say, though, so even the first round certainly down, and that obviously speaks to a lot of a letter grade like that. The 2026 class, the depth of it, I think, is a little bit better than is being given credit for. And it makes sense. Just think about it. Think about the math. Remember the 2020 college football season with the COVID? No one, their eligibility, everyone got those eligibility years back. They don't count. So you think 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, 5 seasons, right? That's our typical eligibility window. You're seeing a lot of guys and their eligibilities get exhausted, the final COVID guys this coming class. So I think fleshing out the depth of that thing a little bit more, that's one way you could think. Maybe the day 3 picks, some of those, decent values in this coming class, but the overall class quality, 2026 pales in comparison to 2027 because the dearth of the blue chip guys that we're going to see the following class.
And those COVID guys are old now too.
Yes.
Like you're
Grizzled
getting like
vets.
26-year-olds. It's like your career's almost done, buddy boy. You stayed in college too long.
There's a quarterback named TJ Finley who announced that he's going back into the transfer portal. I believe TJ Finley is transferring to what will become his 7th FBS school. It was,
by the way,
LSU, Auburn, all the way down. He's had a Benjamin Button career. Last place he was at was Georgia State. I don't know if he's going to get an FBS scholarship.
So he's
see.
just a journeyman.
Good luck, TJ.
He's become a journeyman.
But in
like his
college.
football card is just like a litany of teams. Did I see that the Nebraska quarterback is transferring?
Yeah.
Can somebody
Right
tell him
on.
he's just not good?
No, he needs to go to Texas Tech and fulfill the prophecy.
Texas Tech is not going to
it would
take
be like
real,
if
I don't think.
It'd be like if I dressed up
It would be
as
harder.
Mahomes. Like, I mean, I saw the game here. He's terrible. He's terrible. He has no
Well,
awareness whatsoever. Like it's like he's at a Halloween party dressed as Mahomes and someone said, come play quarterback for us.
Yeah,
No
he
offense
wanted-
to the kid. He's awful.
Yeah, the Gulfs had 10 sacks in that game, right? The
Yeah,
Friday
he had no
nighter.
sense. His offensive line must have been going crazy.
Offensive line didn't play well in that game, but yeah, Dylan did not make any accommodation for his game. He's like, no problem. I'll go out on the high wire. He's, the ball like a loaf of bread out there. There's 3 guys right in his grill. He's like, I'll make you miss. And Anthony Smith's like, yeah, you're in the dirt now. I'll bury you down there like a plant.
Off your first round points too. Last question from me is between the 26 and 27 drafts, how many teams, probably during the course of the first round of the 26 draft, are going to be calling guys like your guy, terrible Terry Fonno, assuming he's still employed, trying to work the trade that the Rams worked? Because like if you're going D plus for 26 first round and let's say an A for 27, how many teams, savvy teams, are we going to see calling the dumb teams and be like, you know what? We'll give you our first round pick for this year. And we'll even give you like a 5th round pick. You give us your first round pick for 27.
It's a great point, and the bad franchises typically run by guys that are on hot seats, right? And as you set up there with terrible Terry, knowing that his job is on the line, what did he do? You borrow from the future. You trade your first round pick the following year so you can move up and get James Pierce. In that case, now the Rams they're gifted a top 10 pick, or presumed projected top 10 pick from the Falcons through that. Yes, some subplot to pay attention to, because again, 2027 picks will be viewed as gold, and some of these front offices on the hot seat, are you going to see them dip into that gold reservoir to try to improve their teams for the coming season, maybe in hurting the future in doing so?
Okay, I know I said last question, but you just scared me really, really badly.
Quasi?
Yeah, I mean, the
Totally.
Vikings, well, if it's Kwesi and Grigson, they're exactly what you're talking about, right? Like you got to have a good
Desperation is a stinky cologne, Judd.
Oh my God. But I mean, okay, how much does that have to factor into making an immediate change?
You have to think about it.
I don't like what you just said.
You have to think about it. Yeah, and in particular with the Kwesi thing, we've talked about the audit going through the draft picks, trying to figure out where the bad advice was coming from. That is a restrictor plate in and of itself, sort of as a concept. And this one, if and we're talking about the Vikings here, but in general, I would do this with any ownership group where you're sort of looking at that to your front office of like, we're going to give you one more shot here, but we don't. I mean, I would explicitly state it. I do not want you dipping into future draft equity, especially the 2027 one. I don't want you dipping into that to try to make the roster better next year. The resources you have are picks this spring and then your cap space. That's it. Don't want you dipping into the future, because another guy probably going to be making them picks.
You just really, really scared me now. Now I'm not going to sleep for like months. So thanks, Thor. He's Thor Nystrom. Check him out again all over the PD Score North family now. Thor on Purple being his flagship show, but there's football takes every day. You've got something coming up tonight, correct? Plug that.
I do. First college football live betting show. A show I've been doing for a couple of years with Eric Froton of NBC Sports and Mike Bainbridge of Athlon Sports. We're going to go through every single college football bowl game. Beginning tonight, we got Troy and Jacksonville State. But tonight's episode, we're going to go all the way through the games on Friday. The last one's the first playoff game we have, Oklahoma and Alabama. We're going to handicap every single one of them. And then Froton and Bainbridge, they're the best college football player prop bettors on earth, in my opinion, the track record of it. So they're going to be giving you their player props for those every single game. I'll be giving you my handicaps and my bets on the side. We'll tell you injuries. We'll tell you opt-outs. I'll give you my adjusted line. I have an adjusted spread, Judd, that's based on numbers, power rankings, and then I modify it with the opt-outs, with the injuries, with staff changes, motivational factors, modified home field advantages, someone playing closer to home than the other one. Check us out tonight, 6 p.m., Score North channel, live college football bowl extravaganza, episode 1.
My head just blew up. That's AJ. I'm Judd. We'll talk to you later.